Joining us now, Democratic Congressman representing Colorado, Jason Crow. Congressman Crow, as you well remember, is a member of both the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and Foreign Affairs. He's also somebody that we remember very well in the aftermath and the moments of January 6th, talking about both your experience and the way that you were able to calm down some of your fellow lawmakers as well. It's got to be a really surreal day for you, sir. Can you explain? Can you describe it for me?
There's no doubt there's a lot of emotion here on Capitol Hill today. I think the people who are most emotional are those officers. I mean, there are hundreds of officers with the Capitol Police Force who survived that day, who were brutally beaten by that insurrectionist mob, several of whom lost their lives as a result of injuries or the trauma of that day. So I think a lot about their families. I think about the injuries they have, both seen and unseen. I think about the fact that there are many who lost their ability to work and are trying to support their families. And on the verge of a broad pardon by President-elect Trump of a lot of those members of that mob, I think it's important that we not forget what happened and we keep cause and we keep the faith with those officers.
What happens if Donald Trump decides to do as he said he would do, which is pardon the January 6th rioters, even some of the ones that were violent towards police officers? Are you worried about the safety of those police officers who stood in their way?
Well, of course I'm worried about the safety of those officers. I worry about the safety of those officers every day, who often are on the front lines of making sure that we're protected against violent extremism. Threats against members of Congress have almost quadrupled in the last couple of years. We're at a time of great danger and instability for elected officials. But, you know, listen, on January 20th, he will have the authority to do this. And I think what's really important, in addition to the safety of our law enforcement, is that America understand what's happening. And what is happening is he is flying in the face, spitting in the face, really, of police officers, of law enforcement, of rule of law, of the Constitution. You know, what happened to that day is not only an affront to our law enforcement, but is an affront to the American people and to the voters who cast their votes 4 years ago and had those votes certified, and Donald Trump and his supporters tried to overturn that election.
You know, it's been a couple months now since Donald Trump won the election, and it's been many years since January 6, 2021. I wonder, given all that we've seen between then and now, the way that January 6 was rewritten and the willingness of the American people to believe the rewriting of it, or at least to not think that it was that big of a deal, and then to vote Donald Trump into office again, I wonder what takeaways you have, what sort of soul-searching you have done on the issue of why Donald Trump won again and how the Democratic Party should respond.
Well, soul-searching is the right phrase, there's no doubt, and I've thought long and hard about that. How do we reach the point where the man who inspired an insurrectionist mob, who dealt in the big lie, who tried to undermine the will of voters, and who has consistently thwarted the Constitution, won this election? And the point is, he did win the election. So I think there's a couple of lessons to be drawn from that. Number one, you have to never stop earning the support and communicating with the American people. That this is not a history lesson, but this is present for a lot of folks. And we're going to make the case. We're going to continue to do our job. I have taken many oaths throughout my life. I was an Army Ranger. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. I took oaths to defend the Constitution when I was fighting for our country. I took an oath just the other day again for the fourth time here in Congress. That is my North Star. I will never stop fighting for the Constitution, for the American people, for my constituents. That is all I can do, and that is what I will do.
What about some more specifics? Do you think that the Democratic Party should go into a new direction, learn how to talk differently, to focus on different issues? I mean, is there something more that you would be advising, at least internally, about how to approach the next 2 years, especially with Congress as divided as it is, but also with the American public, sending a message to the Democrats that they were so unhappy with the Democrats that they were willing to put Donald Trump back in office?
Well, let's not overreact and exaggerate about what happened, first of all, right? Donald Trump won the fifth lowest amount of popular vote of any election in the last 100 years. So this was not any type of landslide, red wave by any stretch of the imagination. And on top of that, we have the Electoral College. And on top of that, we have substantial gerrymandering. Democrats would be in control of the House of Representatives if it weren't for unbelievable gerrymandering and rewriting of district lines throughout this country. So that's an important part of this story, and I think we can never forget that. That said, I'm from the middle of the country. I was born and raised in the upper Midwest. I represent a Western state right now. And there's no doubt that we have to do a better job of making the case, of communicating with voters, and making sure that we address the concerns of working class America. These are folks that I grew up in. I grew up in a working class family. I worked in construction to help pay my way through college. I worked minimum wage jobs in fast food. I understand that too many Americans are struggling, and we're going to continue to focus on those issues and continue to focus on the issues that many Americans want us to.
In talking about how small the win was, it seems to me you're saying that not much needs to change.
Well, that's not what I just said. I said that we have to make sure that we don't exaggerate, that we don't overstate the problem, but we do have to do soul searching, and we have to make sure that we're making the case, right? So this isn't binary. It's not an all or nothing proposition. We can make change. We can do the soul searching that we absolutely need to do, at the same time not exaggerate or overstate the nature of the problem.
Congressman Jason Crow, really good to have you. Thank you so much. I know it's a heavy day over there in Congress, especially for folks like you. Thank you for joining us.